name is Jessica Morgan. I am one of the Assistant Directors of Recruitment and Admissions at the Schulich School of Business in Toronto, Canada.
My name is Teresa Pires, and I'm the Associate Director of Recruitment and Admissions for the full-time MBA program at the Smith School of Business at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario.
My name is Vivian Tran, and I'm an Admissions and Recruitment Manager at the UBC Sauder School of Business at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, Canada.
There are so many reasons to consider studying in Canada, I think. The country obviously offers a very welcoming environment for international students, a great standard of living, a strong and stable economy. Definitely we have international student-friendly policies wherein there are both work and immigration opportunities available for international students, especially if you're considering Toronto, where Schulich is located. It's one of the most multicultural cities in North America. So about 50% of the population were born outside of Canada. So you won't feel like you're an outlier. You'll probably feel more like, yeah, and most of the people like here are like me. So, you know, everyone from around the world can really feel like they have a little bit of home here in Toronto.
So some of the reasons why students are attracted to study in Canada are manifold. One is that the location of Canada itself offers the opportunities for students to explore their educational aspirations at top-tier institutions. So UBC is one of the top 40 universities in the world, so it's a center of global thought leadership, as well as having one of the top-ranked business schools, not just in Canada, but around the world. So you're getting a global education at UBC through the education itself, but also through the university's many partnerships and reputation. Another reason is that studying in Canada offers all students that study in a program 8 months or longer the opportunity to stay in the country on something called a post-graduation work permit. So after they graduate from the university, students have automatic eligibility to apply for this work permit to stay in Canada up to 3 years. So it's not a permit where you need to have a job in hand or a sponsorship. It's just automatic eligibility after a program of 8 months to actually apply for a post-graduation work permit to stay. So students have the opportunity to study at world-class institutions in Canada, but then also have the opportunity to roll up their career and stay in Canada to work and even pursue longer-term options like express entry permanent residency as well.
The majority of our international students stay and work in Canada when they complete their programs. Again, this goes back to the relaxed immigration policies that Canada has. Depending on the length of program that an international student chooses to study, it equates to the postgraduate work permit that they can, which allows them to stay and work in the country. And so for international students, the opportunity is much greater to see their return on investment if they choose to stay and work in Canada.
Among our domestic students, they tend to use our program as basically an international platform because of all the international opportunities offered through our program. So they oftentimes will go abroad after they, some of them will choose to leverage those relationships to work abroad after they graduate.
I think, moving to a new country is always a really big challenge. Perhaps learning how to succeed in a Canadian classroom might be a very different environment than the cultural norms and standards of their home country's education system. And that may take some time getting used to. Some places require a lot of student participation. Some places require a lot of memorization. And the distance between the relationship of student and professor can either be very close or very distant depending on your culture. So those are some, key challenges in the learning environment. Also, I would say, students need to learn how to demonstrate the value of the work experience they have from their home country on their resume and through interviews, especially if their work experience may be from a company that is unknown in Canada. They want to focus on transferable skills and utilizing the Career Center resources that the school provides to help put them in the best position for, post-graduation success as well.
Some of the international students, I would say, come already with strong credentials, and they're not always recognized in Canada or anywhere else outside of their home country. So the lack of recognition of foreign credentials and experience is probably the biggest challenge. And not having a strong network can also be a challenge, hence why coming to do a graduate program like an MBA, for example, can really help build out that network and ensure that candidates are provided the best opportunities to secure employment when they complete the program. So I would say that, international students might have challenges of language and costs, depending on where they choose to study. But ultimately, I think if choosing the right program can open doors for them as well. So although there are challenges, of course, wherever you go, I think that choosing a country like Canada can give you the best opportunities possible to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the post-graduation work permit is a great opportunity. The length of the permit is directly related to the length of a student's program. So if students want to stay beyond that time of the work permit, they will need to pursue the avenues of permanent residence or immigration. So both of those options, the work permit and the PR, obviously legal avenues, they need to do a lot of work to move towards. The process can be lengthy, it can be confusing. So that's definitely a challenge, but it's really great to know that we have these really valuable resources that students can tap into to help them really demystify the process and get support along the way.
If an international student chooses the right program, then it lessens their challenges post-program to stay and work in Canada because of the opportunities, resources, support that you do get at the Smith School of Business. It really sets up every student, international students included, for success.
I would say, our class makeup is about 50% international when it comes to the student body. So our Career Center is very well versed in supporting international students in their career pursuit in Canada. Now, both the faculty departments and the Career Center work very closely with industry partners. So most of our specialized master's programs contain a live consulting project where students would be able to work with a Canadian company in a consulting capacity, applying the learned material from their courses before going out to look for that first post-graduation role. So I think that's immensely helpful for students to demonstrate having worked with a Canadian company, potentially get a reference, potential future job opportunity, and networking connections. In addition, of course, the school always invites fantastic guest speakers from industry, provides a lot of networking events for students to connect with potential employers, and the Career Center has both career coaches and industry experts to help support the students through their job search. So definitely a lot of support there. Students just have to be, ready to go out and grab those supports that are available to make the best of the time that they have.
At the Smith School of Business, we offer multiple opportunities for students to tap into resources to ensure their success. We have a coaching culture that really embraces every student's needs. We have career coaches, which are specific to what a student is seeking post-MBA, meaning that they're industry focused. And so if a student is looking to work in consulting or finance or whatever industry it might be, there is a career coach that's going to be designated to helping them secure employment in that industry. A second is an executive coach. This person acts as a mentor. So if someone is looking to enhance their presentation skills, or they're going into an interview and they want some additional practice, they can tap into that executive coach, which is very unique to the Smith School of Business. Third is going to be a team coach. So our programs are team-based. And so we want to ensure that our students are best prepared to work in diverse teams. And so we offer the opportunity for a team coach to mitigate any issues that might arise, but ultimately to provide tips and guidance to be successful in working in diverse teams. And lastly is a fitness and wellness coach. We have a program called Fit to Lead at the Smith School of Business, which is very unique to our school. And this offers an opportunity to really balance out that mental and physical challenge that you might face during a rigorous program like an MBA, for example, or a master's program.
UBC supports its students in succeeding in their careers post-graduation by this comprehensive career development program that they have with all of our MBA and master's programs. So they would have access to professional career coaches. So these are people with years, if not decades, of experience placing students. They come from HR roles, they come from coaching roles, and they also have their own networks themselves. And they know which mentors to pair our students with. They know the questions to ask for students in the exploratory phase of their careers. So one problem that students might have is that they haven't thought deeply enough about what they actually want to do when they graduate, right? So we look at that a lot in the admissions process, but it continues to be kind of a work in progress for a lot of students as they go through the program. So the career coaches not only are a source of network connections, but they're a source of kind of career profile development. You know, what is it that you want to do? Who can we connect you to? And they can arrange a lot of exploratory meetings with students with, our alumni network in various sectors. So if students are still in the exploratory phase of what they want to do when they graduate, then they can have these meetings, these like coffee chats with our alumni in different sectors and really learn if this is the right fit for them, right? So it's no use getting into a job that you dislike. You should always be pursuing something that brings you joy because, your work is going to be the time that you spend the most of your life doing. So a lot of this that we do with the Business Career Center is not just on helping students to land a job, but it's to land a job that, that they would enjoy. In terms of the learning style you can expect at UBC and Canada, this is a generalization, but I would say most learning styles are very collaborative. So it's a learning style that, at least at UBC Sauder for our business programs, we promote in terms of kind of experiential learning. So the process of learning by doing. So you would learn major concepts in certain classes, but then we would also have students work on major case studies to help them start to apply their knowledge that they're learning into actually solving actual business problems. And then we step it up a notch and have them actually work with companies as well. So not only are they learning by doing, but they're starting to actually build real experience that they can put on their resume. So that happens in basically all of our master's and MBA programs, with some programs having more internships than others, but they have that aspect of working with real companies and major case studies in all of them. So that focus of experiential learning. And then there's a lot in terms of collaborative learning and collaboration among the students that's actively encouraged as well. So the collaborative learning piece will come in through all of the major case studies that they're doing. There's a lot of group work. And then collaborative learning also happens quite organically in many Canadian classrooms, and ours included, that many students will actually form their own study groups. And in our MBA programs where students are coming in with industry experience, you can always, without fail, every year when they start their foundational courses and they're taking accounting, for example, the accountants in the MBA program would always set up study sessions to help their classmates with difficult concepts, and then they know that favor would be returned later. So that process of giving and receiving is a major concept, not just in the learning, but also when students get into the job market.
I would say that in Canadian classrooms, there's something called power distance, and that's sort of, how close can you be with somebody who is of an authority figure. So perhaps your professor. In one country, you may only ever call them professor, you may only ever call them by their last name, and you don't really have an ability to challenge or ask questions. Whereas in other places, you may call them on a first name basis. You may be very friendly and cordial with them. So I think in Canada, we're more to that side of things, where you're going to know your professors by their first names. You're going to be able to joke around with them and be very sort of casual with them in certain circumstances. And they're going to expect from you a lot of participation. So in Canada, in the classroom, it's not so much about memorizing and regurgitating. It's about, understanding considering the concepts and sharing back your ideas or your experience as it relates to that. So a lot of the classroom experience will be student discussion, debates, presentations, things where you are expected to participate quite a lot. So if you're not used to raising your hand and contributing, that might be something of a challenge to get used to. Whereas, if you're coming from a country where the professors have sort of full authority and you're not able to challenge them or, share your ideas, it might be a little bit of uncomfortable at first while you're getting used to this new environment.
So the Smith School of Business is committed to cultivating a vibrant, diverse, and inclusive academic and work environment rooted in cultural mutual respect and equity, such that all members of our community feel safe. And that's really our ultimate goal, is that we want every student, every staff member, when they're on campus, to feel safe and to feel like they're part of that community. So I believe that some of the initiatives that we've put forth as of, the most recently is implementing some training modules, some equity, diversity, and inclusion training modules for all students to complete during their time as students. And the idea is really that they carry forward these fundamental skills in this space as they pursue their careers. Second is we've had a new Smith EDI director, which really supports the execution of Smith's EDII strategy and action plan, and builds an understanding of how we can incorporate EDII principles into all that we do. So this director is really going to help initiate some of the training that we've already implemented, but also overarching strategy of the Smith School of Business. We've also included or what we've recently started, it's called the Blue Sky EDII Fund. And so this is a really great initiative wherein it fosters inclusive and safe and academic and work environments for all students and staff and faculty by offering them an opportunity to put forth ideas in the EDII space. That might be projects that could be funded to include the creation of new active learning opportunities, teaching materials, resources, technologies, events, and safe spaces. So really what this is doing is offering the entire community at the Smith School of Business an opportunity to put forth ideas to potentially get funded as new projects.
There's absolutely so many different avenues we've been pursuing in the past few years. Recently, since summer 2020, we established DEI working group, which had representatives of faculty, staff, and students that would help the school identify actions to cultivate an inclusive academic and work environment at Schulich. This committee is now closed, but we've enacted a number of their recommendations and moving forward on those. Faculty are also reviewing existing programming and instructional materials to provide a more innovative and diverse experience to students. We have also been looking at the business cases that we use at Schulich. Historically, business school cases have been North America oriented, and it really excluded Black and Indigenous and women as the protagonists in the cases. So we're really seeking new cases and introducing new ones that are going to provide greater diversity of protagonists and experiences. We have also been engaging with the community, which is something we've been doing for decades. But we have been engaging with both Black and Indigenous communities in order to draw a great roster of guest speakers who can bring in their experiences to share with our student body, making sure that we're recognizing that community forms who we are. We're engaging with even high school students to encourage them to explore business avenues. So this summer, we actually started something new, which is called the Schulich Business Excellence Academy. It was a student-led initiative, actually started by 4 undergraduate students at the time. And the idea came up as it might be run as a summer camp this summer for grade 10 and 11 students across Ontario. So this was planned to introduce, the skills and concepts of business, to help open the eyes of opportunities for Black and Indigenous high school students in our local community, to help support them.
UBC has its own equity, diversity, and inclusion office, and they kind of spearhead our inclusion action plan at UBC, which is multi-pillared, but it looks at everything from the recruitment and retention of not just students, but also faculty and staff that are increasing diversity of UBC, and they also look at how we can improve the structures at UBC to actively promote inclusion and diversity with it, because like some structures are ingrained, right? So how are we going to improve the actual structures at this institution itself to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion in a sustainable way? And then there's also the accountability piece. So they have this report, but they also run accountability tests and measures to make sure that UBC is on track to achieving their equity, diversity, inclusion goals, and then also through education as well. So they run workshops, they run information sessions, they coach and teach the UBC community and anybody that's interested about what is going on in terms of equity, diversity, inclusion at UBC, and also our progress and what we're doing in terms of improving structures that promote EDI, as well as how we're being accountable.
Prior to arriving to Canada, international students should have started that networking process. It really does begin as early as the minute they receive an acceptance. There are opportunities to reach out to student ambassadors. Every program has a student ambassador page wherein you can go on and click on someone that may have a similar background to you, or someone that you just might be interested in speaking to. And the opportunity to chat with a student ambassador is such a great way to make that connection, understand the culture of the institution better, but also help prepare international students for their arrival to Canada, because that international student that they may have connected with might have some great tips and guidance on how to make that transition very smooth. Some of the other tips that I always suggest to international students prior to their arrival is to start reading some academic material such as Bloomberg, The Economist, just to get a better grasp of the Canadian economy, what's happening locally, what's happening internationally within Canada in terms of their international relations, just so students can have a better grasp of the culture, the community, and the society that they're looking to move into. This can really help in terms of building their business language skills, but it can also help give them a perspective into a new country prior to their arrival. And of course, lastly, just understanding the process for securing a study permit. You want to have all of the requirements completed before you make a decision to accept the program's offer. Ultimately, understanding how long it takes to secure a study permit, to get your financing in order, all things need to align in order to be successful to arrive into Canada, and to ensure that you have no hiccups in starting your graduate program.
That's a great question. So before arriving in Canada, I would say when you're choosing a program, know what you want to get out of it. If your program has academic pre-prep, make sure you do it. It will help you hit the ground running. So, that when you are already adjusting to a new environment, that, you have as much of the academic prep done as possible. Many programs, ours included, always recommend students come at least a month before their program starts, just to be able to find an apartment, get settled, feel comfortable in your new environment. So again, you're not doing things like looking for apartments or still getting to know where the grocery store is before you start the program. So we always recommend that students come as early as they can, especially now with COVID. Obviously, you might want to have a longer adjustment period than 1 month, but we say 1 month minimum like minimum of time that if you had to quarantine, like, you know, you're out of there, so you can explore your neighborhoods, get an apartment, and just know what everything is, so that you feel comfortable in your life in Canada before you start the program.